Redditors with thin walls, what have you heard in your apartment? Years ago I had an upstairs neighbor. At 2 a.m., every night, I would hear something sprint across the entire apartment. I realized 3 things. T was very fast, it took small strides, and it never deviated from its path. One day, I saw my neighbor outside and I said, "I don't know how you have energy at 2 a.m. He responded with, "Dude, I've been working the midnight to 8 a.m. shift for 15 years. Doesn't bother me at all." That night, I watched him leave his house, drive off, and waited 2 hours. At exactly 2 a.m., I heard what sounded like 2 feet hit the floor in his bedroom, and the marathon started. A few weeks later, I see him outside. I tell him what I hear at night and he says, "That's strange, no one has my keys, it's just me and my rabbit up there." The way my old apartments were laid out, the neighbor's bedroom was right next to my kitchen dining room. One night, I hear them banging. Thin walls are thinner when the bed is hitting the wall, while I was fixing dinner. I just turned up the music and continued on with my life. 2 hours later, I was cleaning up, doing dishes, and generally tidying up when I heard the familiar thump 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 of banging. I think, good for them, and bag up the trash to take out. Thump thump thump. I open the door and take my bag of trash outside. As I'm walking out, I see the male half of my thumping neighbors Dart walking in from his car. Walking back from the dumpster, I see a half-naked dude running out of the neighbor's apartment. They moved shortly after that. My ex-neighbors never let their kids leave the house, and preferred to raise bubble children. The older son, 12 or 13, was pitifully fragile. One day I heard him crying because he shit on his own hands. He shit on his own hands. Wait, what? You gonna just let your turds fall into the toilet and splash? You shit into your hand and then put it in the water. Not in my house, but I travel a lot for work and stay in a lot of hotels. So far my favorite was hearing someone banging around in the shower for a while, then this exchange. Loudly, "Hey, wash my balls." Louder, "Wash your own goddamn balls." Yelling, "Fuck you, your pussy stinks." They got quiet after that, probably because they heard me howling with laughter and realized people could hear them. Father used to live in a trailer park. I have nothing against trailer parks, but this one was pretty bad. We heard a loud bang, sounded like a .22, it wasn't overly loud. Then, "Did you get him?" Voice 2, "Yeah, he's dead all right." First voice, "That'll teach him not to go near your drugs." Cops were called. Turns out these guys shot a cockroach with a handgun. Both arrested for drug charges, one with discharging a firearm improperly. Back when I was starting to learn the violin and still sounded like a duck in pain. I lived in a cheap apartment next to a preacher and his family. I happened to be practicing one day and they responded by turning up their TV louder and louder. When this failed to drown me out, I heard, "Oh, Lord that art in heaven, may you use your divine mercy to cast out the evil spirits that doth make that hellish noise like a billion damned souls." When that failed, the guy's wife went right up to the wall and yelled, "Whatever the hell that is, knock it off." Heard my upstairs neighbor saying, "Who's a good boy? Ooh, you're the good boy," and other things you would say to a dog. I asked her about the dog. She said she doesn't have a dog. She was saying it to her boyfriend. My last apartment had particularly weak walls between apartments. One night I was reading in bed and I was unknowingly the third party to a particularly nasty fight between the couple living next door. The fight lasted for almost an hour and was apparently the end of their said relationship, as she was going to leave him and the apartment the next day. The longer the fight went on, the more interested I became as I pieced snippets of the reason for the fight together. I did not know them personally, only enough to wave and say hi, help them with carrying up groceries, etc., good neighbor stuff. It seemed couple A, both early 30s, were becoming bored with their sex life. For whatever reason they decided that they would fulfill a fantasy of theirs and invite a third individual to join them sexually. Male A and female A found through some online means male B to join them. I guess things worked out for a while. From the snippets of the fight I caught, male B had joined them on multiple occasions for various sexual escapades. The kicker was female A came home early from a work trip and found male A and male B deeply engrossed in their sexual acrobatics without her. Female A flipped out, and I guess after that point they tried to patch things up, but she caught both of them on 2 other occasions, the latest being the night before fight night that I was unashamedly listening to. Neither neighbor would hold my gaze for long the next morning. I think they were too embarrassed or ashamed to ask if I had heard anything and presumed I heard it all. I even offered to carry a box of stuff she was lugging out of the apartment. Remember, good neighbor. She mumbled something and said no. He was packed, moved out and gone a week later. Needless to say, it was the most interesting thin-walled apartment experience I have had the vicarious pleasure to be part of. Lots of fucking. My presumably constipated neighbor trying to poop, a K of 5 minutes of grunting and heavy breathing. Someone snoring like what I can only describe as a diesel truck revving its engine. A little girl practicing playing what I think was a violin every night for a while. Someone blasting Middle Eastern music. I Shazamed it and the song is called Mundian Tabak 6 what sounded like a woman forcing herself to puke, with lots of crying. I don't know if she had food poisoning, or was bulimic or what. I once heard an argument that went a little like this. Stop treating me like I'm stupid. You asked if seahorses were mammals, Jessica. They give live birth. There used to be a couple above me. I never knew them, but saw them once or twice in passing in the laundry room. Dude was extremely tall, like no less than 6'7", and rail thin. His girlfriend was very short and weighed about 385 to my estimation. Their living room was above my bedroom. I woke up one morning to the sound of them doing what couples do. On their couch, I guess. The mental image of these two getting it on was enough to make me want to move to the living room, but of course my curiosity got the better of me. It was nothing out of the ordinary at first, but then it got weird. She was being very loud and was obviously enjoying herself. Then she started making pig noises, like really loud snorting pig noises while she was getting railed. This is when I started wondering if what I was hearing was real or if it was a dream. This goes on long enough for me to slowly start pulling the covers up over my head. Dude comes, and at the top of his lungs starts going hoo-oo-ah-ah, hoo-oo-ah for a solid minute. I hear their couch or futon or whatever they were doing it on start creaking and then heard some footsteps. I thought they were done. Then dude starts loudly singing Take Me Out to the Baalgaram, Take Me Out with the crowd. He sings the entire song. Very well, actually. I was impressed. He even sang that second verse that nobody ever remembers. I've lived in apartments for most of my life and hearing couples get it on isn't out of the ordinary, but not exactly common either. This was by far the weirdest one I'll probably ever be subjected to. I've heard my neighbor giving his granddaughter a xylophone, for birthday I guess. She could play it well and kept playing for a while. Immediately after she left I could hear him trying to play something his granddaughter played. He practiced for a solid hour until he managed to play this song correctly and stopped with a joyful yes. It was one of the purest things I've ever experienced. In our old apartment, our upstairs neighbor had extremely loud, theatrically enthusiastic sex in the middle of the day. The puzzle was that he would stop in the middle and we'd hear him walk to where the bathroom is, stay there for a minute or two and then walk back and resume in the bedroom. It was the same pattern every time. We could never figure out what that was all about. Any ideas welcomed. Someone in my building changed all the Wi-Fi connections to route to gay pornography when you attempted to go to any site. That was an immediate wake-up call to me to change the router login and Wi-Fi password on my setup. I thought it was just mine, so I didn't think anything of it. My downstairs neighbor, a military guy, had his girlfriend over later that day. He wanted to show her some new YouTube video. He goes to the site, and you hear two guys moaning loudly. She screams. He screams. Everyone is shocked. I laughed because I realized it wasn't just me that got hit. I later helped him secure his router. Couple arguing. Chris, stop, you're not even making sense. Of course I'm not making sense, I'm fucking drunk. Not what I'd heard, but what I'd done. Post-shower lounging in towel. PC is on the floor because I'm broke and can't afford a table. Sit down and don't realize my ass is on the carpet since it felt like the towel. And I farted. I mean a massive fart. The way I was sitting had it drumming on the floor like a bomb. Then there was a moment of shocked silence before I heard through the floor. What the fuck?